And then there's St. Augustine, his son. With St. Augustine, we see this is a man that probably people said, what good is he? What will he ever achieve? But when he turned, when he changed, when he was converted, he's one of the greatest saints in the history of the church, one of the great people in the world, in the history of the world. A philosopher, a theologian, great orator. He was a mystic. He was a saint. And you know, the last reflection I give in regards to that, you know, we tend to think that our times are worse than the past. But that's because we didn't live there. If you lived in every times is difficult, all times. It has its problem and its positives and its negatives. And the time that Augustine had, you know, after Ostia, when his mom died, he went back to Hippo, and it was there that he began to take serious Christianity, and he became a priest. And eventually they made him the Bishop of Hippo. And as the Bishop of Hippo, we say life was rather simple. No, it was not. It was chaotic. You see, for the first 3 centuries of Christianity, abortion was legal. What they would do is a child would be born, and after the child would be born, until the father would lift up the child and recognize publicly that it is his and is accepted, that child could be destroyed. And for 300 years, for 3 centuries, the church fought for the reverence. If you look in the homilies and so forth of the early churches, do not have an abortion, do not kill your children. It's right in there. And finally, after 3 centuries, that's how long it took to outlaw abortion and respect for life in the womb and the child in the early church. 3 centuries. And finally, with Constantine coming in, you had the change. And then how long did it last? Well, not too long, because everything changed. In other words, Christianity was accepted. Christianity was now the religion of the empire. And then in 410, Alaric, with the Visigoths, he came and he sacked Rome. And all of a sudden, the great empire that had stood for centuries and centuries, millenniums, it was falling apart. And the people cursed and blasphemed the Christians. Because they said, when we had our former gods, they protected Rome. It's since we turned to this weakness, this gods of these Christians, that Rome is being overrun. And so persecution started against Christians. And what happened was, in order to defend the Christians, you know, they turned to this bishop in Hippo, and they asked Augustine to make a defense of explaining why. And he began the last 14 years of his life, he wrote a book. He wrote a book explaining how the decadence in Rome itself was what was causing the downfall, not belief in God and the Christians. And he began, was most incredible, the first 11 books was a defense of the faith and an indication that the cause was not Christianity, the cause was the very society that you're living in. It's culturally a culture of death, it's dead, and it brought about this weakness and downfall from within. Sounds familiar? In the last 11 books of this masterful book that he wrote called The City of God, The City of God. The last was the greatest work he did, was the end of his life. In the last 11 books, he told about that this struggle between the spirit of the world, love of self, versus the spirit of God, love of others, love of God, that this spirit, this battle is forever until Christ comes again. And it's in the hearts and minds and souls of every person, and it flows over into the whole of society. And so what he wrote then became relevant for all ages, for our times, because that battle still goes on. And as you know, Augustine had so many heresies at that time, from Donatism, where they believed that baptism was only valid if the minister was a good person. If he wasn't good, the baptism wasn't. And they weren't just heretics. They forcefully, with the sword, were imposing their teaching. It wasn't easy. Driving actually Bishop Hippo right out of his seat. And you had the Manichaeism that you had to deal with. You had the Pelagianism, where the whole thing that you can be good because of your own willpower. You don't need the grace of God. Where Augustine's life was just the opposite. He knew, but the grace of God made him change. He did the whole dissertation on and began to refute all these heresies. And he did so many things, so many works he produced. What would the church be? You can't pick up the office, the divine office of the church, without every week coming across Augustine, his homilies, his talks, his reflections, right down to the present time. To the present time. And it was Monica's prayers that allowed this change. It is your prayers that is going to affect so many people you don't even know. We're going to touch this world in a profound way. Children will be born, and good will be done, and nobody will know, but it's a fact. And so we see the three areas here. John the Baptist shows us not only must we know the truth, we must profess the truth, even to the point of beheading. Monica tells us persevering prayer. Do not worry about anyone knowing it. It will have its eternal effect. And Augustine shows us no matter what condition some people are in this culture of death, if they change, what tremendous good can come. The unborn children that will be born because of your prayers, what good they will do, you will not know this time of eternity. But everything is a plus. Everything is good. And so as we can begin this new year of graces for us, the 20th anniversary of the Helpers is now upon us, and we begin our 21st year. God bless you for being here this morning, and he will. God bless you for your courage and your witness like John the Baptist, to give a testimony against those in high places in power, to little people, to big people, to our own fellow citizens. And we imitate then the example of John the Baptist. We pray that those who are converted will be like St. Augustine, and most especially we imitate that humble, persevering prayer of St. Monica. And what was the final result of all three? They are with God. They are saints. If you persevere, you too will be with God, and you will be saints. That's all that matters at the end.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Holy Spirit.
Now and ever shall be, world without end.
Almighty
all souls to heaven, especially those in most need of thy mercy.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let me let this be one moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To each moment and in each moment, in peace eternally. Let there be
Done enough over these years to bring this Holocaust to an end. So for 1 minute in absolute silence, either standing or genuflecting or kneeling, we ask you for 1 minute simply to repeat the words again and again in your heart: mercy, mercy, mercy.